How strong is Kuma? Now, I'm going to keep it real with you guys. Kuma's first name, I struggle with that a lot. I know people have been giving the similarities between Bartholomew and his name is Bartholomew. I can't even say it, Bartholomew Kuma. I'm not too sure. I say it so fast. I do not know how to pronounce his first name, but Kuma is one of the most loved warlords in the fan base. I see everyone talk about Kuma's this, Kuma's that. And I'll be honest with you, I'm a big fan of Kuma too. When he first came out of nowhere in Thriller Bark, it was not his first introduction, but when he first came out of nowhere in Thriller Bark, that was lit. His first actual introduction with Doflamingo back in the first, I think the meeting of the warlords, he was walking behind Doflamingo and you saw the bounty of his, and it was like 200, I think 280, 250, I'm not too sure. It was kind of small right now, but back then those 200 numbers were crazy. Him and Dofi had crazy bounties and they were frozen. So I definitely love the character Kuma, and I still love the character right now to this day. He's really an epic character. I mentioned Doflamingo, yes, Kuma and Doflamingo, how they both were introduced at the same time. And let's be honest here, if you talk about warlords, this is how a lot of people see the argument. They say Mihawk is the strongest warlord. I'm not going to mention Blackbeard because Blackbeard people, if I mention Blackbeard, I believe Blackbeard is the strongest warlord ever at this present time, but his warlord was like for 5 seconds. But when it comes to the warlords, you had Mihawk, as everyone says is the strongest, and they always argued Kuma or Doflamingo. And there was a big argument. I always see back and forth who's stronger. Even after Dressrosa, people are arguing it. I have an opinion on it, which I will give at the end of the video, but I'm telling you right now, I love these arguments when it comes to Dofi and Kuma, and seeing people different point of view. It's very entertaining. Now, I'm not too sure if you guys missed this when watching the series the first time or reading the series the first time. I think you guys know this, but Kuma used to be a part of the Revolutionaries, and that's one of the most interesting aspects of Kuma. The fact that he was under Dragon, his relationship with Luffy's father, and we've seen that it gets brought up a couple of times. It's funny because the Revolutionaries are going strictly against the world government, and now Kuma's working for the world government. It's going to be crazy why it's happening, and let's be honest here, we all see Kuma as one of the top men of Dragon. And the fact that we see him as one of the top men of Dragon, he has to be one of the a really strong character at that time. Now, does he still have that strength? Well, we know that he is famous for it, so I think he would still have that strength, and I'm excited to see Kuma go all out. Like, one of my favorite moments is seeing Kuma and Sabo training. Sabo's trying to get up, he finally gets over Hack, but then the next person is Kuma, and Kuma is just on another level, and he can never get past Kuma until the end where he finally gets by Kuma. He doesn't do any work, but he gets by him, and then Dragon's there, and Dragon pretty much knocks him aside. But I'm telling you right now, Kuma is kind of being showcased that Kuma is like really close to Dragon. We see many occasions, and he was willing to do some crazy stuff for Dragon, so we got to give that respect to Kuma as a character. Now, I just definitely mentioned this earlier on in the video. Kuma has a very crazy reputation. He's known as the Tyrant, and it's kind of funny because when you see Kuma, he doesn't really seem like a tyrant, but yeah, Kuma the Tyrant, it's very hype to see his past and what he was doing. We know the character Lola mentioned this, and I'll be honest here, even funny thing is about this is Moria and Kuma met, and Kuma's like, do you want to go on vacation? Where would you like to go? And Moria's like, I already know how your pal works. I don't really care. And it just shows you, like, people are thinking, oh, okay, well, he's making Kuma look kind of soft. Well, this is how I see it. Moria is the same guy who actually went up against Kaido and lost his whole crew. Moria's been there fighting the guys who were pretty crazy, and he's really been used to this. This is the reason why he's using other people's powers now, because he knows what it takes to be in the new world, and he knows that he's not on that level, but he's not afraid of anybody like that. He's not scared. And as you see, Moria is a very swagger. He has a swagger. I'm telling you right now, his laugh is amazing. Gosh, she. So I feel like it's more of him saying, I know how your power works, I'm not afraid of you. But I definitely feel like Kuma is above Moria at that time. Maybe Moria in the past was way stronger, but we'll never know until the flashback actually happens and how him and Kaido were rivals in the past. Did he become weaker, or did Kaido just simply become stronger? Now, this is a very small moment. You guys probably thinking, why are you talking about these small moments? Because I really love the character Kuma, and I really want to talk about every single moment which he is in. And one of my favorite moments is when Kuma mentions Frankie, and he's like, Frankie, you're the cyborg, on the Straw Hat Pirates. It's kind of crazy because Frankie, that was like his first arc after joining the Straw Hat Pirates, and Kuma's already interested, and he already like, oh, the cyborg is very interesting. Now, we know Kuma knew every single Straw Hat Pirate, but the fact that he said that is because we know the similarities between Frankie, who's a cyborg, and Kuma, who's a pacifista. And it was kind of cool seeing Kuma just wreck him because Frankie was acting all cocky, and then boom, right with his Delph Fruit. His Delph Fruit is very crazy, and Frankie is just destroyed. And we see in the post time skip, Frankie has gotten improvements. And I'll tell you guys right now, I'm a big fan of Kuma and Frankie have a sick end of story battle. It will be epic if this happens. We see Kuma finally go all out against the character known as Frankie, both their connections with Vegapunk. I would love to see that. Now, this is where I come to talk about the controversy at Thriller Bark. Yes, the Zoro moment. I think we all know what the Zoro moment, the pain of Luffy and all that. But I want to talk about some things before that, a little before that. First, I want to talk about Sanji and Zoro's battles with Kuma. Now, we've seen Sanji, he did a kicking attack to Kuma. This is pre-time skip Sanji, and his legs was actually hurting. So we see that Sanji was having difficulties, and he really didn't even like affect Kuma. Kuma was affecting him, like Sanji, and that's Kuma because of his Pacifista armor. But then we see Zoro, and Zoro actually is able to cut Kuma, and it's crazy because it's one. Let's be honest here. Sanji's attack was not one of his stronger attacks. He didn't use the Diablo Jumba, and then Zoro's attack was the Lion Ode. It's Shishi Sansa. I'm not too sure how I say it in Japanese, but I'll say that it's one of his stronger attacks we've seen against Mr. One. So it was crazy seeing Kuma get damaged by that, and that's why I call it a controversy, because that really questions his durability. Like, it won't question his endurance, but his durability. If that was one of the attacks that, if a pre-time skip Zoro, who's very exhausted after the Thriller Bark arc, fighting Oz, fighting Ryuma, is able to damage, and after the Ursus shock, is able to damage Kuma, it's like, how strong is his durability? Very interesting stuff we want to talk about. But I will give Kuma the benefit of the doubt. He did not see Zoro. Zoro came out of nowhere. It was not really a straight up boom. So I will give Kuma the benefit of the doubt. But the fact that he got injured, it made me scratch my head. Yo, how durable is he? In my humble opinion, Marineford, when we saw Kuma and the Doflamingo explanation of Kuma has lost his mind, he's not the same Kuma. Even Kuma said they're not going to be the same. And we see how he's fighting against Ivankov. I'll personally say that I feel like Kuma was very weaker when he lost his mind. Some people say he got stronger. I heavily disagree. I think he was weaker in my humble opinion. I do not think he got stronger after he lost his mind. And it's because he really didn't have the same control as he did when he actually had his body. Like, I feel like it would be tough for him to use his through with his Pacifista body if he doesn't have the control, but who knows, I'll maybe be shocked. He still probably could use it. Ursus shock. Yes, I've talked about Ursus shock a little bit when talking about the Zoro, Sanji, Moba and all that stuff, but I want to talk about Ursus shock and Marineford. And I'll be honest here, it was really a great feat when Kuma uses Ursus shock against Oz Jr. I kind of enjoyed it, yo. It was epic to see all the warlords put in work. We see Mori even put in work Doflamingo. It was crazy, but I feel like Kuma, it was nice seeing Ursus shock put in damage. Now, Oz Jr. was still up and going up later on, but that's where I had to question Ursus shock. How good is Ursus shock and when it comes to taking people out? Because when I look at Brook's a character in which he was heavily damaged too after the exhausting Thriller Bark arc, and Kuma uses Ursus shock and the three characters are still awake: Zoro, Sanji, and Brook. I'm like, Ursus shock should have took out all these characters if it was a very devastating attack. Now, Ursus shock might not be one of his crazier attacks, but if it's a mid-tier attack, I'm like, yo, this attack, yo, is not as big as people think. People think Ursus shock is like a devastating attack. You will get wrecked. It's over once he hits it on you. But after seeing it a couple times, I'm like, Ursus shock might not be one of his stronger attacks, and that maybe gives me a potential for Kuma to get really strong when we see him finally go all out. I think it's going to be against Frankie. You guys put who you think Kuma is going to go all out against. And I briefly talked about this when talking about Doflamingo explaining Kuma and his mind. Ivankov versus Kuma, and I'll just personally say this, yo, Ivankov was impressive against Kuma, and people will disagree. He was impressive against Kuma. Now, people might say Ivankov has a relationship with Kuma. He knows how Kuma's power work, and that's the reason. And also, Kuma did not have the same mind as before. He had no control, as we say, and he pretty much lost the essence to think and stuff like that. So I definitely feel like Kuma in itself is a very interesting character. I think he was weaker just from the Ivankov fight. That's my biggest evidence. He's weaker. I feel like a strong Kuma with his mind would definitely be fighting different against Ivankov. Haki. Does Kuma actually have haki? And this is a big question people have been talking about. And the fact that he loses his mind, does that even make him lose the haki? It's a huge question. Now, personally, I feel like Kuma definitely should have haki as being one of the top revolutionary leaders. I feel like he's one of the top revolutionary leaders. It might come out that he was just a mid-tier, but I feel like he's a top revolutionary leader. And when we actually see him showcase his full power, he's definitely going to have haki with his Delphi, with the Pacifista. It's going to be epic. And I personally feel that people might disagree, but I feel like he's going to have that. Now, his observation haki might not be the best, but the fact that he can use his Delph Fruit ability to go place to place to place to place, yeah, it's a very devastating Delph Fruit ability. And I'm going to give Kuma the benefit of the doubt and say it's very devastating. And the last thing I want to talk about before I actually give my verdict on how strong I think Kuma is the fact that Kuma actually was protecting the Sunny, and that was a very honorable thing he did. The Straw Hats were very gracious when he did that. They were very thankful, like, thank you, Kuma, for doing this. And we see that for 2 years he was defending the Sunny, and you see the damage he was taking, the way he was walking up with all the weapons in him. That is what I'm saying right there, yo. Kuma, that's the durability I like, yo, because he did take a lot of damage. Now, we do not know who the government sent. Is this the Thousand Sunny, the Straw Hat pirate ship? They had to send some good heavyweights, maybe some rear admirals, maybe a vice admiral, who knows. But the fact that he's only damaged like that, like, okay, Kuma, 2 years of fighting and you're like that, I'm thinking, okay, this guy's durability might be better than I actually think. What we still have to see him go full out, and that's when we'll fully see where his durability is and where his full extent is, his full ability. Because I told you guys, the Pacifista and the Kuma, I want to know the differences. We see Zoro, Sanji one-shotting a Pacifista. We see Luffy easily one-shotting a Pacifista. It's crazy how strong the Straw Hats are, the Monster Trio are compared to the Pacifista. And I feel like Kuma should be a big difference compared to the Pacifista. And unless Vegapunk does some more changes, we'll never know what's the difference. I'm just joking, but we'll see in the future. Now, personally, I feel like the mindless Kuma is not that strong. I'm telling you guys right now, the mindless Kuma, it's kind of similar to the Pacifista. He has a stealth fruit, but I don't think he's as strong as people think the mindless Kuma is. And that's why people got angry at me for putting William low in my top 50 list. I will redo that video because that video was that was a crap video. I'll be honest. Yeah, I can tell you guys that was a very bad video. But the full mind Kuma, the guy who's very understanding what's going on with his stealth fruit ability, the one who can teleport, that Kuma, I feel like he's right under Admiral 11. You guys probably think, whoa, you're overrating Kuma. I'm telling you right now, I have him either equal to Doflamingo or above Doflamingo, maybe Yonko top commander level. We've seen characters like the Yonko commanders that we've recently seen. I think he's probably going to be on that level, and I think it's very impressive, yo. He might even be on the same level as Sabo when he has his mind and fully attacked. I think Kuma is a very devastating character, but that's just my opinion. If you think I'm wrong, put it in the comment section. I know people think that I'm a Kuma hater. I love Kuma, and that's pretty much it, yo. Like and share if you enjoy. Like and share only if you enjoy. Subscribe for more One Piece content. And I ask you guys this: how strong is Kuma? I'm the Legend Mac, and I'm gone.